Oh, there you go.
Okay. Hey.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to sit here for, but I was like, I like this room and this lighting. And so I'm like, I don't know if I should be sitting at a desk or just like sitting like this. Um,
Hey.
because then I can like show different breathing things, maybe. I don't know. That was kind of my thought. What are your thoughts?
I don't
Podcasts,
know.
they're
We're
usually
just
like they're usually like at a table or like a sofa,
yeah.
but
Um
I don't think it
I'm
matters.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's just whatever you're feeling.
I'm feeling this. Sometimes I think when I'm on my like computer, I feel like I need to be at a desk, and then I have this like light thing that I got in the mail, and it's out here in the living room, and the living room just has all my plants and like my salt lamps and stuff, and it's just like a nice room with like really good lighting.
Yeah.
And so it's just I like it in here sometimes, especially
Yeah.
when it's like dreary. Like I need the sun.
Yep. Yeah, I we have floor to ceiling windows here. And so I'm set up like right in front of the window,
Mm.
and then I also have a light, but it kind of seems like it's washing my face out a little bit. I don't know, maybe that's enough light. That seems good.
Yeah, those lights that are the LED like office lights, they make everyone look sick.
Uh-huh.
They make
Yeah.
them look yellow. I was like, is everybody really sick? Oh no, it's just the evil fluorescent
Yeah.
office. Like, how do people work in that light all the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good. Um, so anyways, I was like going through all the things that I want to talk about, and I was like, there's so many things. Like I could talk about breath work, I could talk about astrology, but like I think we're here to talk about breath work and like just maybe our journey to becoming teachers and like just like the maybe just start that out because that's a fun story, and I'm sure my story is completely different than your story.
Yeah.
Like how you found breath work and like um maybe just start out that way, and then like as we travel together in this podcast arena, we can like kind of come up with new fun things that people like if we get a reaction to this, just kind of like they say, throw the spaghetti and see what sticks kind of thing. But I think
Yeah.
starting out with like our story might be fun. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. And I think it would be kind of nice to just get grounded in the moment. I definitely just was like running around and a little scatterbrain there for a moment. So I'd love to just kind of drop in for a second and take a few deep breaths if you want to guide us through that.
Yeah. um I love teaching and I love the frequencies. So um we can just do some like silent silent meditation with a few words. I like to just breathe in through my nose, down into my belly, and then just go ah, the audible ah. Yeah, that feels so nice.
Mm. Yeah, definitely
Wow.
feeling more here,
Hmm.
more more present. And yeah, if you want to start by telling your story, how you ended up here, and what led you to breath work and all of that. I'd love to hear that.
Okay. I'll go first.
Wow.
Uh, so I am a respiratory therapist at the hospital. I've been a respiratory therapist since 2014. I got my respiratory license at Boise State, Idaho, if you know where Boise, Idaho is. Apparently, they're one of the best respiratory programs. I didn't know that. I was just really looking to get my degree. So, all of my credits that I had been working for didn't expire because I had to retake all of my AMP, all of my math, all everything. I was in school for 9 years after high school, just like bebopping around, trying to get into nursing school and just like hitting my head against the wall, just feeling really desperate and thinking like, I don't know, I wasted all this time and money. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Feeling like also maybe I shouldn't be in the healthcare. Like maybe I should be a psychologist. I really want to, be a pro snowboarder and like I really like yoga and like all this other stuff that I really wanted to do, but I was feeling um, really that scarcity mindset was big because in 2008 we had that whoopsie. What was that? The housing crisis. The like there was no jobs available. um, I got a job. I moved here to Bend in 2008 after doing just terrible in college at Boise State the first time and moving here and not knowing anybody and getting a job that I got fired from like almost immediately for drinking, and then being really, really desperate. And somehow, by the grace of, my higher power, I got to get a job at McMinimans, which was a very hard place to get a job at. Now it's really easy. It's weird. But got a job at McMinimans, which was like pretty good income and all that, and got to like, get better grades in a smaller classroom. And then just, yeah, move back to Boise, get my respiratory degree, which was pure hell for me. And I didn't want to do it. But I was like, I'm stubborn. And I was like, you better finish what you started. And so I did. And looking back at it, I was like, how did I do all of this while I was drinking and just being a crazy person? But I did it somehow. Like, you just sometimes you got to look back at yourself and be like, wow, you did a lot with what you were given, and just like honor that and not be like hateful. But anyway, so yeah, respiratory therapy, didn't have any clue what it was. I was just like, sure, whatever. I get to use my nursing credits. It's kind of like nursing. You kind of worry about, I don't care. I don't care. I don't know what it is. I didn't know what it was. I was just like, I don't care. Like, just accept me. Let's go. Let's do this. Um, and but did like the adrenaline. I liked that it was kind of like, you were teaching patients about their breathing and just like the lung mechanics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Was really interesting. And so anyways, flash forward to 2019 is when I got sober. And when I got sober in 2019, I had nothing to do because I had been drinking. And so my friend, who doesn't drink a lot, invited me to a breathwork class. And I was like, I had like told her no many times because I was like, first of all, we're laying down and breathing. That sounds boring as hell. Second of all, there's no movement. I don't like, what am I going to do? Third of all, it's different. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're saying when you keep saying breath work, you keep saying you have this like orgasmic experience and all this stuff. And it just like, it was frustrating more or less. So I finally go with her because I have nothing to do because I'm sober now. And I go to this breathwork class and it was weird. It was weird. walk in and there's like three people there, and one person brought her like her sheepskin rug. I didn't bring a sheepskin rug. I wish I would have. And now I have one, but it's in the other room. And so I like I was like, oh, I'm not prepared. I didn't bring my sheepskin rug. And like I just don't I didn't bring a pillow. Like I just brought my mat, my yoga mat. And the teacher was pretty quiet and she didn't say a lot. And then we sat down and she started guiding us through what I kind of know now as like sort of a Wim Hof style of breath work.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe yes, we were laying down. There was no music. Um,
Doing
she would
breath
tell,
holds.
I think we did breath holds and we did like intermittent breathe. We'd breathe really fast and then we'd breathe really slow. And then we do some breath holds. Yeah, we did breath holds, yes. And I didn't like those.
Yeah.
And then we would do some like, we'd breath hold and then we would go. And then after a while, then I started feeling the tetany. I was like, oh, I'm feeling something weird. I love this, because like I had been sober. I think I was like 6 months sober at this point, and I hadn't felt anything. I just felt, ugh, so I felt something different happen to my body, and I liked that because I'm weird like that, little ugh. And I felt like, like maybe I was tripping out or something.
Yeah.
And that made me excited because I was like, oh my God, something's shifting, like energy is shifting, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and I liked it. It wasn't until I got to John Paul's class that I had that massive shift.
Yeah.
And so, but I did like it. And so I was like, oh, okay. There was a man in there who might have been having an orgasm, and that was very distracting to me. And it was a small class. And so, like, there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff happening up here.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a bit confusing. The like, okay, breathe fast. Okay, now breathe slow. Okay, now breathe fast again. Okay, now hold your breath. And I was like, oh my God, like, uh. And there was no music and it was just weird. But that was like my first exposure to it. And then COVID hit, right? And there was nothing. And then in 2022, I went to John Paul's breathwork class and I had zero expectations. I was just like, sure, yeah. And then as I'm like signing up for the class, I'm like, oh, there's like all this stuff. There's like an email, there's like a signing, there's like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of a big deal. Oh, he's kind of a big deal. Oh, there's a website, because this other teacher that I went to didn't have a website. She wasn't really like well known like John Paul. I was like, oh, he has like famous people on his website. I was like, I got kind of like intimidated and I was like, okay, but I didn't read any of the instructions. I didn't
Yeah.
like nothing. And I just showed up with my mat and I was like, oh, and I dressed in like tank top and leggings with no socks. I froze my first breathwork session because I just
Yeah.
didn't know. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't know because that didn't happen to me the first time. I didn't get hot, I didn't get cold. I had the tetany, but not really, you
Hmm.
know. And so that first class, I went to another land. Like I saw sacred geometry. I couldn't breathe because there was so much snot flowing out of my face. Like I barely heard the beginning of John Paul's speech. Like I heard like, okay, we're gonna take two breaths in, one breath, like I heard that part of the instructions
Yeah.
and that was it. But then like the music, it was just I was just blown away. And I was like, okay, I want to do more of this. I want this. I want
Yeah.
this. Like in the second class, I was like, I want to be a freaking teacher, which is something that I had been skating around a long time because I really wanted to be a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
And then the whole, you know, world blew up and yoga teachers were like, ah, really dispersed and not doing
Yeah.
well. And so then I was like, maybe I don't want to be a yoga teacher. And then I was like seeing how well John Paul is doing. I was like, oh, I can teach this online. Oh, I'm a respiratory therapist. Oh my God, this makes so much sense. And so yeah, that was like the tipping point, and it was really, really powerful. And it's led me to a whole other part of my journey process, um, as just a person on this earth, to like kind of feel excited about life again, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, and being sober, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go. I was like, in my head, I was like, maybe I'm going to go to like a mushroom ceremony so I can get more enlightened, or like, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm connecting, or maybe I need more healing. And I just don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel as insecure about myself like I
Yeah.
used to. So
Sure.
that's kind of the shortened, simple version, I think. I don't know how much time I took up just then, but yeah, I'm curious to know your journey, Ty. I want to know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, it's so amazing how our journey just leads us to exactly where we're supposed to be. And I think that that has really been a huge part of my journey, is constantly finding that I'm ending up at the right place at the right time, and um, kind of just feeling the grace. Um, so yeah, where do I begin? I might, for a moment, go back before my birth, and actually speak. So, I'll kind of say some other things right now too, just to lead into that. So earlier today, I just did a really intense hip muscle release. Was I had a ball and I was rolling on my hips, really trying to open up these certain muscles that are known to store a lot of trauma, a lot of pain association in the hips is related to sexual trauma and stuff like that. And my dad was actually raped at a really young age. And so there's a lot of science connected to this idea that trauma is passed to us through the DNA. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
intergenerational, but it also exists in our own way that we receive too. And I experienced some sexual trauma at a young age as well. So I feel in many ways I got it double. Um, and so this
Mm-hmm.
has kind of been a big part of my journey, is finding out how to reconnect with myself in a kind and loving way, and just acknowledging that like I can be present with the pain that I'm going through, and that has been a huge part of breath work for me. And so that's kind of a big part of my journey. And then there's this other side. I actually heard a Native American guy talking about this idea that when any Native American is walking in America, he's living in two worlds. The world that they know as their sacred land. You know, they look at
Mm-hmm.
certain mountains and they know the mountain's name because they named it. And then there's the other world, the world that they walk in this moment, that is like the world that has been created, and it's like it's Mount Hood, but is it?
Mm-hmm.
and and so I very much kind of resonated with that idea, because I was born into a group of a community of people that practice the way of the Wixárika, which is a indigenous tribe in Mexico that they've been practicing with peyote for thousands of years. And so growing up in this way and being exposed to such a spiritual way of life and doing pilgrimages and all these different things, rites of passage. I've done Vision Quest and Sweat Lodge and all the things. And at a certain point, my parents kind of found that they weren't right for each other and decided to break up. And at that point, we kind of left the group and I moved to LA and just got totally disconnected from that spiritual path and disconnected from everything. And I think that's really when the sexual trauma, the negative side of that really started to come out, and led me down a really dark path of just lies and drugs and all the things. And that inevitably led to me losing the love of my life. So Anaya has been my partner for 14 years, and we've known each other since the first grade. And that has been such a massive journey. But at a certain point, when I was going through all of this, she left me. And it was at that point that everything really like shifted for me. And I realized that that is like one of the greatest gifts that I've ever received was hitting that
Mm-hmm.
low point. And I wrote something down the other day. The lower you go, the deeper you can reach. And I truly believe that there is some sort of connection between our ability to help people and the bad things that we've done and the low points that we've reached because we're able to go there with other people and also be a reflection of what it looks like on the other side and all of these different things. Um, so yeah, she left me. I moved back to my childhood home, and I actually got connected with Tony Robbins a while before that. I've done the Fire Walk, I've done Date with Destiny, and Unleash the Power Within multiple times, and even the youth leadership program when I was 16. So I always kind of knew, I've been doing the Tony Robbins thing, but I think the seriousness of it wasn't, I didn't have enough drive to really implement the things I learned in my life until I got to that point. And my dad offered to get me a ticket to Date with Destiny, and I went. And this is actually something that John Paul and I have in common because he was very much into Tony Robbins and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I did that and finally felt like I was actually implementing something in my life that was really helping. And I think that was the main thing that started getting me out of my head into my body and start back into my life. And Anaya and I found our way back to each other and started a real healthy, kind, loving relationship rooted in growth and spirituality and just all the things that we had kind of been missing before. And so then me and my dad went to the um what was it, the biohacking conference that Dave Asprey puts on. And in the morning, everybody has access to like a free class that they can do. And I go to John Paul's class, and
Mm.
the line to this class, I thought that line was actually a line going to a different door because the line was so long. I was like, what is going on? And I'm like, see this bald guy who's like running around, like yelling at people and all this stuff. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is insane. There's so
Oh.
many people here, and there's like empty rooms, like yoga teachers and other people who are also teaching classes that people are just everyone's going to John Paul's class.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and my dad did his class together. That was my first time I ever experienced breath work and ever experienced John Paul. And so I think it was a massive healing experience for both of us to do that together, to
Mm,
kind of have that shared experience of the sexual trauma. And I feel like there was a lineage healing there that it was
mm,
just like written in the stars.
mm.
And
Yeah.
I walked away from that experience being like, this is it. I'm going to fucking
Mhm.
be a breathwork facilitator. I'm going to change the world. And then this thought kind of seeped into the background of my mind. And I was about to go run up to him and like talk to him and tell him about how, I want to do that. How do I do, and something just was like, no, like,
Mm,
I think that's an old pattern of like somehow
mm,
pedestaling this person
mhm,
and getting overly excited and like very much I'm like addicted to the like
mhm,
intensity of that thing of feeling like it's the next thing,
mhm,
and so I didn't talk to him, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hold this, and I think that something is gonna come of it.
mhm.
And 5 years later, I ended, or maybe no, but probably more like 4.
Wow.
Um, I started my own kind of breath work practice. I started doing it a lot with myself. And my mom lived in Bend. And so I started doing John Paul's class. I was like, oh, I know this guy, And so did
Mm,
his class a few times with my mom, and Anaya was there as well. And yeah, he, I so I'm like, should I say this? But yeah, I'm just, fully transparent. I essentially took his class and combined a little bit of the spiritual past that I had
mhm,
and did not have any sort of certification or anything and just started teaching classes.
mhm. I
And
did
kind
that
of,
too.
yeah,
I
like
did that too.
just
I think a lot of people do that, by the way.
yeah, and
Well, I had people who were like, done breath work. Oh, I've done John Paul's class. So I would like have them, but then I was like doing the breath work with them. Anyways, Ty, I totally did that. I did. But I
yeah,
was like, oh, I'm just getting prepared for his class, for his teacher training.
yeah,
So I gotta like do this. And I had no, yeah. I think
yeah,
that's important actually, because I think a lot of people can relate to that and be like, oh, I've done that. And this is why you don't do that. This is why you don't teach because there's shit that happens, right? Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. But I just want to say, like, I think a lot of people did. I did that. I
yeah,
totally did that.
yeah.
Go
Yeah,
on.
so yeah, and I think that's yeah, it definitely it's a thing. It
Hmm.
actually even I think I told you yesterday that it happened to me too, where somebody came and did my class and then they did breath work with somebody who ended up having a really intense experience. He didn't know how to hold it and
Hmm.
it was like a whole thing. They had to call me and it was just yeah. So yeah, there's definitely, but I felt like with my background and who I was and the tools that I already had, it didn't feel out of alignment. I very much was showing up in the best way and it did work. And then I was like, I think I want to be legit. And it's not just about the
Hmm.
paperwork. It's not just being like certified, I'm not,
Right.
but I I know that a huge part of what Tony teaches is like just find somebody who's the best in the world at what he does or they do and just figure out what they did and then do that. And
Yep.
then after you start doing that, and I mean, that's such a great blueprint for anything that anybody wants to do in their life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Wow.
that pretty much, yeah,
Five
sums it up.
years. You waited like, well, we had the whole COVID thing, but like
Yeah, yeah,
to like think and be like, but like I think that's like the beauty of timing too. You're like I was a respiratory therapist. I still am. I mean, a respiratory therapist. Like I tell people how to breathe every day, but yet it took me that long to like make the connection. And then even when I reached out to my professors at Boise State, I was like, "Hey, do you guys know anything about breath work? Like, do you have any information? Like, I know it increases your functional residual capacity, but like, do you have any info?" And they had no idea what I was talking about. They were like, what?"
Are you talking
And
about
so
pseudoscience? This
they're
sounds
like,
woo woo.
yeah, like you need to talk to like this retired teacher that's no longer here that would probably know. Um, and like it floors me because there's so much cardiopulmonary study done on breath work and like so much science that I was just like, are you kidding me? And thankfully the hospital I can use their database to go and search for case studies because I'm an information person. If I don't have enough information, I just go bazonkos. And it's just an insecurity thing because nobody cares about how many case studies I have on my website. They just want to have this experience. It's like it's like people who want to make money. They don't care. Like it's just like how do we get to this problem quickly and like just get me there? I don't want to know all the background. Like I'm in pain, help me, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I was just in enough pain to try that first breath work class. I was just in enough pain to come to John Paul's breath work class because yeah, it's like I needed it so very badly. And I mean, everyone does because it's like it's not just like you take this pill or you drink this or you do that. It's like it's you giving yourself medicine. And I think that's what the most pure part of breath work is it's your own self giving you medicine. I'm not coming by and squirting something in your mouth so you can have this like release. And like sometimes people need that to like break themselves open to
yeah,
receive the breath, right? So like I know that like I'm not like go do ketamine or go do ayahuasca or go do mushrooms, but like um if say somebody's just not able to receive the breath or something, maybe they do need to do that. I don't know. Or like you said, maybe they're not in enough pain. Like maybe they haven't had any experiences to make them want to heal, or they've shut the door on their generational trauma and they're not going to ever open that door ever again because we all have trauma,
yeah,
every single one of us. And yeah, I think I liked that you brought up that the darkness because that's exactly what we talked about in my meeting today was like we had to go there. We had to go like seek out the darkness to find the light.
yeah,
Like you just and like whether or not you decide you're going to do something about it, that's up to you, but you can't sit there and blame people, right? Because that's not going to make the pain go away and it's not going to make you feel that any better. And so it's like I heard something from someone and they're like, yeah, you can't really blame your parents for your trauma after the age of 18 because after the age of 18, you're on your own. So it's up to you. No more
yeah,
blaming your parents. And I was like, oh, how dare they? And then I was like, right.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny. What's coming up for me about that is Tony says, if you're gonna blame, blame intelligently, blame effectively. If you're gonna blame them for all the bad, then you're gonna blame them for all the good. Like
Yeah,
look, this is all your fault. I made it here.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's like look at
yeah,
everything that's happened in my life. If I'm gonna blame you for all the bullshit, then I'm gonna have to blame you for all the good stuff too, because it's it's all one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I just love breath work and I love talking about it. Um, and I really like where this is going because it seems like we have pretty good um, on camera, or like we can talk back and forth. I'm just checking the time. Oh, it's
Yeah, what
only
time is it?
okay. It's 3:15.
Okay.
So I think we have some time if we
Yeah.
want to talk about something else. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, because when you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, and then this, oh yeah, and then that, and
Yeah.
then now I can't think of anything. Oh, oh yeah, no, there's just so much. There's just so much that we could talk about in this on this on our podcast, the
Yeah.
breathing pod. And I
Yeah.
just it doesn't have to be that name, but it can be something better than that.
I love it.
I I really like the breathing space, but somebody already has that name.
Mm.
I don't know if she oh yeah, she totally has a podcast. I'm such a liar. The breathing pod, the
Yeah.
breathing room.
Oh
The
yeah.
breathing room is kind of
Breath
cool.
room.
The
Yeah.
breathing room.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
definitely
funny that oh what?
something I've been saying a lot is because one of the reflections I've been hearing a lot in my classes is just like, man, that was like a lot to break through. Like I really had to like push through a lot of resistance. There was a lot of, it's like that thing that we say in the beginning is like your brain doesn't want you to do this. It's going to try and distract you and make you think you're uncomfortable and all of these different things are going to come up because it's like you start doing that, you start going into that switch, it's uncomfortable in so many different ways, and your brain and your nervous system is just like no, what, no. And so I've been saying it's not called breathing, it's called breath work, breath work. So it's like it's in the name that it's work. It's not like breathing because it really is hard. So I kind of feel like breath work um should like having work instead of just breathing,
Mm,
having the work in there, I feel like is
the breathing
could
work?
could
The breathing
potentially
work room? The breathing work room? I don't know.
sure. I'm not attached to anything.
The breathing, the breathing work space. Fuck. I don't know. I don't know. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
like
this
workspace. Oh, is that the breathe book?
space because I love astrology, yo. Um, I brought this out because um
Are you a
this is
mouth taper?
just simply breath. No, I can't because my lip ties and tongue ties are so bad because like my parents didn't know about that back in the 80s. They didn't do that. They didn't cut the lip and tongue ties. I'm like, oh, no wonder I'm messed up. I was starving as a young baby. No, I'm just kidding.
Mm,
But like I have to like um get them cut and then have some other stuff done. I don't know. Like I
huh.
apparently have sleep apnea, and I mean I do. I did the study because my mouth falls open because of my tongue and my lip ties. And it's actually affecting my teeth. So it's like you can like dig real deep uh with the breathing, and I'm only halfway through this book. I've been reading it for the past year. That's how I am with all my books. I'm like, oh well, it's halfway
I
through,
I've
so I'm on
I've
page
I've given
89.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've given up
Mm-hmm.
on reading. I'm an audiobook person. I'm ADD, dyslexic, ADHD. Like I absorb information really good when I'm active. So if I'm like cleaning the house and listening to a
Mm-hmm.
podcast, I can get to the end of cleaning the house and feel like, okay, I feel like I've actually absorbed all of that information. And like I'll find the next day I'm talking to somebody and I can just it's like right there. I'm like, "Oh, wow." But then
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a little bit more just focused on just listening. Like just sitting and listening and kind of staring off into space. I find I don't retain the information as well. So
Mm,
something about
mhm,
being active while like
mhm.
receiving the
I'm
info
that
is
yeah,
like,
I'm
yeah,
I'm that same way too. Yeah, for sure. Like, I can't I mean, I think that's why it takes me so long to read a book,
yeah,
that's a self-help book. If it's like a story, a really good story,
like
like, I'm like,
fiction or
"Grrr," like,
something.
I'm yeah, fiction,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Phew." But, like, you wanna tell me something, and, like, this is why school is so hard. I never read the textbooks. Are you kidding me? I would get, like, halfway through the chapter and be like, "I can't I don't I I'm
Yeah.
done. Done."
I don't know how
Like,
I
I'm
made it through high
hands-on.
school even. I don't know how you made it through all that schooling. Yeah.
Oh, I, like, wanted to quit so many times. The guy I was dating at the time, he's like, "You seem really unhappy, like, maybe you shouldn't be doing respiratory." I was like, "I'm halfway through it, like, but the funny thing is I love teaching, so, like, I'll take people to the gym and I'll show them, like, what worked for me as far as, like, learning how to, like, move your muscles and, like,
Mm,
in breath work, like, I'll make it I try to make it as simple as possible and funny, um, like, just anything that I teach people, I'm like, it's really easy, like,
yeah.
you just haven't found the right references, or you just haven't found the right niche, or it's right here and like you just can't see it. And like I can do that for other people, but I can't freaking do it for myself. And it like
Mm,
pisses me off.
mm.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Um, so, and like I need to see things or experience them to fully comprehend
Mhm.
what people are talking about,
Sure. Yeah.
and or else it's just like in one ear and out the other. Like
Yeah.
again, like breath work. Like my friend's like, no, you need to come, you need to come. I'm like, I really think this is the dumbest thing ever. I really don't want to do this. And that's also another hint for me is if I don't want to do it, it's probably gonna be the best thing for me.
Yeah.
If I'm really pushing against doing something or getting something done or like tiptoeing around it or like being like, well, or like blaming somebody for something. It's like, oh, there's something there that that's going to be big once it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I don't know about you, but like, what's your sun sign?
I'm a Virgo.
You're a Virgo. Hmm. What's your moon sign?
Um, I think that
You
might
don't
be
know?
Aries. I think I'm Earth and Fire.
Huh. That would make sense though.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure though.
Because I like talk to everyone about breath work. And I'm like, breath work this, breath work that, blah, 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 breath work, blah. And then like now, because I'm distracted by something else, I don't talk about it as much. And I talk about something else. And of course, because I'm not talking about it all the time and like shoving it in people's faces, it's like blowing up, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's not the product, it's me, right? It's not
Mm,
like
yeah.
people it and I have to keep reminding myself that because like when I first started teaching, I was getting really discouraged by the low amount of people at my class. And then the
Mm,
amount of people that would say, oh, yeah, I'll be there, and then cancel.
yeah.
And that was
Or
really
just not
hurt.
come.
Yeah. And it was like really be hurtful to me.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, seeing other people's class sizes and knowing that John Paul gets 200 people to a class, you're just like, oh, why don't people go to like class? Don't they know that it's good? Like,
Yeah.
can't they? And like going to yoga studios and being like, please, please take me in. I will teach. I will teach for nothing. Just let me come in, and like, I'm just like, not responding to my emails.
I'll
Like,
pay you. I'll pay
I'll
you
pay
to
you
teach.
to let
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then just so this is a really amazing story, and this is just how it'll work for people who are like feeling like they're like, I'm stuck, I'm a teacher, blah blah blah. I had been following my favorite yoga teacher around the studios that she was teaching at, um, and emailing the studio and trying to get something set up so I could teach there. Um, and I had a gig lined up. It was the day after Thanksgiving. It was the first time I would be teaching at a yoga studio. And I was pretty pumped about it because it was the yoga studio that my teacher was at, Rebecca Bell. And like a week before, she's like, "Hey, I'm leaving that studio and I'm gonna open up my own studio, but like, don't tell anybody." And I was like, "What? I just got a gig there, and you're leaving? You're gonna go?" Well, I mean, like, this is really cool. You're gonna be opening up your own studio and everything, but like, I just,
Yeah.
what the heck? And then something happened where like nobody signed up for the class, which
Mm.
I found odd because I've had at least five people. I think the smallest class was five that I've ever had. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But it was the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm like driving home 6 hours from my hometown and I am wiped out. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to teach tonight. I am so wiped out. And the owner texts me. She's like, nobody signed up. Like, I'm going to cancel the class. And I was like, thank God, thank you, because I cannot, like, if I had to teach tonight, I would die. And
Yeah.
so then it just kind of like fizzled out, right?
Mm.
And then my favorite yoga teacher, Rebecca Bell, she opens up the studio and she's like, "Hey, do you want to teach here? Do you want to teach?" I'm like, "Do you what, uh, like I'm just like, are you?" She's like, "Do you want to do a weekly class?" That was the other thing. I was getting a lot of pushback from like all the studios. Like, I don't know if we can do a weekly. How about we just do a workshop once a month? I'm like, oh, no, I need a home. Like, I need a home base. I need accountability.
Yeah.
And she offered me a weekly spot, and I was just like, and then like another opportunity. And anyway, so like then this opportunity to talk to another breathwork instructor that was in my class, like who's like going through the same stuff, like we're
Yeah.
making a podcast, like no big deal, like this is happening. And it's like, it's because I surrendered, right? It's
Yeah.
because I surrendered or got distracted by something else. But like either way, it's like, it's when you turn it over and you surrender and you go, all right, I've done what I can. And now, and like, I'm sure I'll have some classes where nobody shows up because it's going to be a weekly class and this is all new and everything. And
Of
Ben's is,
course.
a smaller town. But like, dude, like, that's, that's what's happening right now. It's
Yeah.
big. We're gonna like, this is big. Like John Paul like, this is going to be the new yoga. It really is. I
Yeah.
believe in that now. I thought at
Yeah.
first I was like, no, 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 no. I fucked up. I should have got my yoga thing, which I still might. I
Uh-huh.
want to do that still. But
Yeah. I mean, I after today doing this deep tissue hip release thing, I'm really wanting to I actually had a whole vision of a kind of workshop type class that I want to create that combines body movement, stretching, maybe like foam rollers and balls
mm,
and stuff to like work out different, deep tissue
yes.
stuff. And
Oh my God, yes.
then, because honestly, it seems like that is a huge part of the resistance for me when I
Hmm.
start breathing and I haven't like activated my body in any way. I'm like, I just like, I've had a long day and I'm just like, okay, time to do breath work. And I just lay down. That is kind of something that I was just, we were talking about that the mind is trying to distract you and make you think you're uncomfortable. It's like but I'm also like really uncomfortable. Like it feels like I'm
Mhm.
tight, my muscle, and it's like once
Mhm.
you get oxygenated, I think the muscles start to loosen up and you start to kind of get into that place and things open up and then you can kind of get there. But I think
Mhm.
starting from that place
Mhm.
was just so different. So
Mhm.
different. So I had a whole kind of vision of what something like that is gonna look like. So I'm definitely gonna, I don't know, follow that
Oh,
thread and see what happens.
yeah, my yoga instructor said something like, you in India, and I'm probably misquoting her, but like they have to do like 8 years of yoga practice before they do the intense pranayama breath.
Hmm.
Something. She mentioned it very like briefly, but she's like, I trust you because you're a respiratory therapist and like I know that you can like guide people and they're not going to feel freaked out in their body when they're in their body breathing. But she had
Yeah.
mentioned like yoga helps people get like in sync with their body and then the breath helps them move through their body, kind of like
Yeah.
move the, yeah. And so like definitely, oh man, I took one class that was just using the ball to on our feet, on our right here. There's actually this thing I love to do. I'm going to show you right now. um and then I'll probably have to go, but where is it? Ah, excellent. So you grab a yoga
Yeah.
block and
Block.
a ball.
Okay.
And this is, I just did whatever chest workout
Right.
yesterday. I'm so tight.
Yeah.
So you just put it here. Oops. And then you just,
And you're
uh,
doing that the yoga block on the ground and you're laying like
no,
you would
just
do
like
that
this.
laying or just like
Just,
that. Yeah.
just like
Okay.
this. Yep.
Yeah.
But that,
Yeah.
there is no gun or anything. I mean, I bought a yoga block just so I could use my ball. So
Yeah.
I could do like
Yeah.
this. Oh, oh, it's heavenly. You got to try it
Nice.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm friends with these guys who are part of this other breathwork company called Breathwave, and they so how they facilitate is they'll come in, the first contact they make is coming in and either putting their thumb or their fingers exactly in that place while people are breathing and
Oh.
pulling the shoulders back and getting in there and letting that open and then
Mm,
up here too and releasing all this stuff because when you're
mm,
doing that breath you're like you
mm.
know and that
Yeah.
these muscles can almost if
Yeah.
they're tight they can stop that breath from extending up
Mm,
into the upper respiratory area and
mm-hmm,
he's done it to me and it's like opening that up and then all of a sudden you get that breath that comes all the way up without you having to like sometimes you gotta like try and
mm-hmm.
fill your chest because your muscles
Yeah.
are like,
So tight.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah. I
yeah,
actually go around the room like kind of mid, I guess like third song, second to third song. And I go around and I actually push people's shoulders down
yeah,
like they do in yoga, and just like
sure,
relax. And you can just see people go, oh, you know. And so I do that. And then I do it at the end of like class after we've done the heart moments, and people really appreciate that.
yeah,
Um, like there's this like special point of like I don't want to touch them because they're like in their thing and I don't want to interrupt. Like maybe
yeah,
they have like some emotion about ready to come out. So I like
yeah,
try to do it like at the second song and then like at the very end, like
yeah,
after the heart moments.
uh-huh,
But I think it's really very helpful
yeah,
to do that. So yeah, I think more and John Paul teaches us that. Like I liked how during the teacher training we'd lay on our side and like rub the back and like yeah, it's really helpful and just like last night during my breathwork class, it was with some people that come a lot that I know pretty well, but I went to each of their just like each of their heads and just like thanked them for being there.
Hmm.
And that was super powerful for me. And like, I don't know if they felt that, but like, I was just like, thank you for coming. Like, thank you for showing up for me. Like, thank you for being here for you.
Yeah.
Um, and then I've been having people like John Paul did have them all put their heads inward so
Yeah.
I can come by. And that's been a game changer too, because the energy change, it
Yeah.
shifts.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I love doing the circle thing, but sometimes when my class fills up, I can't fit everyone in a
mm,
circle.
mm-hmm,
And then the only way people can fit in the room is by going side
is
by
a
side.
line. Yeah.
And so at times I've been like,
We're
oh
against the
man, like
wall.
I wish I was in a bigger space. And then the next
Mm-hmm.
time only five people come and I'm like, okay, well, once I'm consistently getting enough
Yeah.
people that there's not enough room for a circle, then I'll.
Yeah. And you're teaching at a yoga studio as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah,
Well,
I do it.
oh,
Oh.
what? Tell me. Sorry.
I teach at two different spots, Not Springs, which is a spa slash yoga studio spot. And I also teach at Laja Yoga, which is in Milwaukee, Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's awesome. That's
And
so rad.
where are you teaching?
So I teach at Yoga Shala Bend,
Mm,
which is a brand new studio. It just opened downtown Bend, facing Drake Park, upstairs in this like beautiful space that my
nice.
favorite teacher opened. I'm just like the history with this teacher is just insane. Like
Yeah.
she's sober. I was like always looking up to her. I'm like, how is she so happy and so sober? Like and just got the best energy ever. I love her so much. And then the athletic club of Bend, which is just
Mm,
like not a place I would ever expect to have taught. Somebody
sure.
came up to me at one of my classes that I was teaching like monthly at this crystal shop, and she was like, yeah, we're losing our breathwork teacher at the athletic club. And I thought I'd let you know so you could maybe come teach there. And I was like, the athletic club? I mean, okay, the athletic club is like for people who are more wealthier than me.
Yeah.
Um, the like cost to go there, a membership is like 130 a month, which is a lot for Bend.
Yeah.
It's very nice, but not I would expect to want breath work the way that I'm teaching it. However, John Paul does have like I see doctors go in there that I know to his class, and I'm like, oh, cool. You want to do this? So it's like also it's good for me not to like put people in a group thinking, oh, they're not going to like this. Oh, these people are going to hate this, and like only focus like so it was like really cool to I was nervous as hell to go in there and be like, guess what, we're not going to do yoga today, we're just going to breathe. Because the teacher before me was teaching a combo class and everyone's like, oh, and I was like, I know it's gonna be so fun. And it was great. It was so good, Ty. Like, so just keep doing your thing and mix it up. You never know. Like, you
Yeah.
never ever know how this stuff is gonna work out for you.
Yeah.
So anywho, well, I think that was good. I have to get ready for work. I get to work
Cool.
all night tonight. So that's fun.
Yay.
But like, let's do this again. And I'll just put this on the cloud, and that way you can access it and download it onto your computer and play with it and do whatever you want with it. Does that
Okay,
sound good?
how do I get I don't I guess I don't know anything. Maybe
So
you'll send me a thing or something. Okay.
I'll send you the link. You'll click on it, and I think you can just download it. And if
Oh, okay.
not, I'll upload it onto something else, YouTube or something. I
Okay.
don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Um, but I think if it's on the cloud, you can download it or it give you permissions or something. Either way,
Okay.
we'll figure it out.
Sweet.
We'll
Yeah.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so stoked and yeah, let's just keep going.
Okay. All right. We'll have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.